for folk saints. I should start with introduction. During the ethnographic field studies, when I was staying overnight in Gyumri, I had the feeling that Gyumri is a good place to collect ethnographic memories. Specifically in December, I was attracted by the villages. The distance is not far, but there was a kind of risky feeling, adventurous feeling. The sun was barely visible above the gray skies, but nevertheless the snow and ice were melting, and in front of your eyes a track was losing the reality, and at that time you realize that the risk is not just your imagination but a real threat. So you had to go to the village to arrive there not earlier than 11 o'clock in order not to actually enter their house as an unwanted guest, but also to return before the sunset. So interviews, photographs, observations, you had very little time left for all this. I was making the same choice when I was staying in Amasya or Arctic. I was attracted by villages difficult to access. And then I was visiting also folk shrines. I knew from my previous experiences that there would be days then it would be impossible to leave the city. And at that time, Gyumri would become the field for ethnographic studies and collecting data. And I would be able to save a very valuable day of my secondment to the city. So I will be presenting you what I have learned about the folk saints and also provide you with my comments of the state. I do not want to limit myself only to Gyumri, and probably it is impossible to forget also preceding and succeeding folk materials. This is just a justification from my side, because I cannot say that I know all the shrines, folk shrines in Gyumri. I have done my last interview on the 4th of this month, and I didn't go to Saint Avo, Avo in quote unquote. I have heard about Avo from my penultimate interviewee, who said that they visited the Saint Avo's place. The two shrines are in the Zorimaila, one in Zoribogas, and the fourth shrine is in Textile district, in the yard of building number 22. We are in Zorimaila, and you see this small house, this box. There is a small vegan type domik next to it. After the earthquake, it's a place of dwelling for people, a vegan. So the owner of the house and her neighbor agreed to talk to me about this. Then we were joined by her husband. So after the earthquake of 1988, it was built by one of the descendants of this saint. So he came from Moscow, demolished the ruins, cleaned from the ruins the area of his paternal house, and built this house. And it is not because the person had no money, and the others have helped him to build this house, not because he didn't have sufficient money to build it on his own, but in order to contribute to this. Before that, this shrine was again between the place of the two houses that belonged to two brothers, next to the wall separating the two plots. So, to my question, whether it's saint known to uh, every people in Gyumri, he said, yes, but it's our paternal saint from our grandparents. So we have heard this grandfathers or paternal several times used with different meanings. In some cases, it was the justification of the worship, why we do this way and that way. So in Zorimaila, on November 24, 2011, this interview was done. Let me explain why I use the word saint and write it with capital letter. One of my goals is to separate the scientific vocabulary from the popular vocabulary because the words with a similar meaning could represent different worldviews. In some cases, I have warned my interviewees that he should or she should not talk to me in a language that is clear for me. It's better to talk in their own dialect because it is important for me. You can use those words, and if you are not careful with plagiarism, when you later on hear the recording, you may feel that it is natural that they use the words holy shrine, holy place, or holy gospel word expressions. And it is very difficult to discern whether you have actually suggested or imposed this, or it was his or her natural vocabulary. We can go to the center of the village and ask two types of questions. For example, do you have any saint in the village? Yes, for example, there is a red gospel in this house. Or you can come to the same person and says, do you have a holy gospel in the village? And he would say that there is red gospel in that house. It may seem that you have asked the same question, but I will try to make a hypothesis why we have two different worldviews under the same words or similar words. A teacher of the school in Tlahkavan village in Ara region about uh, the resurrection. In 2020, the gospel is called the Holy Book, and it may actually veil the reality. And it may seem that the saints' book is called gospel, as they called the Merel Harod's book in Gyumri. Above the shrine there is a house. Rosa, the owner of the house, is 83 years old. Slide number 3. This is the design of the shrine inside this sacred place, and please show also Rosa. We have her picture as well. She was 83 years old and she had lost 5 of her children already. Merel Harods, a gospel belongs to his uncle, maternal uncle. And you know that in Armenia we use pache pach, expression which is escaping from the genocide. They brought this gospel to Gyumri. The hair of the uncle brought this gospel. He then took off and went to Moscow and took the gospel with him. We have a controversy here. There are some places where it is prohibited to move anywhere the gospel, but at the same time, if needed, they can move. And this is not what they actually say. It is my interpretation as the interviewer by following the facts they present and following their logic and arguments. On the next day on the 25th. If I would translate into any language the terms used by my interviewees, we will have cognitive dissonance. Uh, we have in Armenian Surp Astվածածին Church, then in parentheses Surp Yotverk, and then in Russian Святой Աստվածածին Богородица, in parentheses. We may say that the church was concentrated building of the Merel Harot's gospel. It is quite clear as opposed to the direct speech, because in the direct speech you have some controversy. What they say, the priest has consecrated this saint or the sacred place or the shrine. We try to interpret then it for ourselves, and we try to put it in grammatically correct and understandable expression, as I presented just one sentence before. We also find some other expressions. It is again about Meral Harods, where the interpretation distorts the understanding about the saint. They came and entered the saint. Can you understand what they say? Son of the owner of this house goes to paint. He attends an art school. So the words are quite direct. He is painting inside the saint. I should have interpreted those. Otherwise, you would consider me to be ignorant, because grammatically it is not understood well in Armenian. I mean, how a saint can have an inner part. So how can you paint inside the saint? But this is absolutely in line with the world view that we have. But we may also miss what saint means in the popular Christianity, in the folk Christianity. It's okay because we do not understand many things. We can also miss this one as well. From I cannot express it better than Jonathan Smith when he speaks about the difficulties of interpretation. I don't mean translation from one language to another, but interpretation of the folk language into scientific language. What Smith says. What does Smith say? This expression, I will tell you which expression is that. This expression rejects the value of cognition and the truth of interpretation. It exists in the Pierre Borges Menar's world, where the fairy tale should be told two times, because the word can be interpreted and translated by the same word. If we follow Borges's hero, the best way is to repeat, and the best interpretation is actually the word itself. This expression of Smith is about my personal argument about this interpretation. When you translate the popular language or the folk language into scientific one, you have to understand the meaning of the word in the cultural context. Otherwise, we will never realize that we talk two different languages. The books used for the Armenian Apostolic Church rituals are being blessed by the bishop. This is what we have. Then the book becomes a miraculous one. It could be kissed and it becomes a saint. Citation from Simonian. The book may have an adjective. It could be the resurrection gospel or the red gospel or some other gospel. And my interviews were saying that it is saint, and saint is not an adjective but rather a noun. And the book is saint, the house is saint, the building is saint or sacred, and they are saying we went and have seen the saint. In Gyumri, I learned about three saints, and the interviewer said that they were going to textile saint shrine, and in the in the yard of the building number 22, there is a small place where they were lighting candles. Horen Palyan, who was collecting Armenian spiritual hymns, was living across that shrine. So a neighbor came to the house, to the owner of this shrine, in order to show the pictures of his ancestors, in order to show that this belongs to him. And my interviewee was saying that the neighbor has hung a curtain behind the door. And why is this conflict? They went to Tukhmanok near the village Azatan to have a sacrifice. And he said, please, dear saint, have a good eye on us and we will definitely take care of you. So, and actually providing services and taking care of this shrine is a way of making him kind to yourself. And this is an example of a saint that doesn't have a name. Everyone considers Zori Bogas saint to be his or her own. Someone recalls that his mother was saying that it's our houses, our homes saint, patron, but was not saying that this is our saint. And old residents are saying that this it doesn't belong to anyone, but they come to light some candles. This is a big rock on which walls have been erected, and this saint can punish. So a wall was erected or garage was posted, and the saint visited that person in dream and said that the punishment is irrevocable unless that person demolishes what he or she has built. He didn't, and three sons and a grandchild died, and he sold his house and left. So the neighbor or daughter-in-law of the neighbor also passed away. Another one became blind. So the interviewee, whose house was next to this Zori Bogas shrine, so it should be a big stone. So the interview is telling that here my brother-in-law became sick and then was healed. He was a person with disability with motoric difficulties, was not able to stand or move. They went to Saint Minas, to this place. They took him on a stroller and then he came back on his own feet. And this is a healing place. Stories of the old and the new. The narratives about this are playing the role of the law. So they actually legitimize those saints, also show their powers and relations with the people, and to what extent they're accepted by the others. There are some stairs near the bridge of the 50th anniversary of the victory, and if you go down by those stairs, you will find the Saint Minas, and there are some small crosses there, and this place is in this shape. They have destroyed the building, and there is a new shrine built. The benefactor is living in Russian Federation. The former house was destroyed, and then a new one was built. Uh, the benefactor lives in Russia. He learned about the saint in his dream because he left Gyumri in when he was 15 or 16. The prelate of diocese, Archbishop Achapayan, told me about this. You have folk and ecclesiastical traditions. So the church demolished the folk shrine and built a chapel instead. I don't need to say that even the folk religion is larger than simply folk Christianity or popular Christianity. So, the Church of Seven Wounds, or Yotverk, is the most popular church in Gyumri, for example. And being folk church doesn't mean that it is popular. In case of Seven Wounds, it is the most popular. And the last sentence, and we can say that it is folk if it is built by the people. For example, Saint Hovannes is the shrine which is the most popular among the people. And the Church of Seven Wounds is also one of the most popular churches, but it is not a folk shrine. If it is established and built by the people, then it means that it is folk. It is a folk saint. If it is established or built by the official church, it could be popular but never folk. And closed or ruined ecclesiastical buildings could be revived by the people and turned into shrines, into saints, as they would say. Thank you.